Before the Golden State Killer and Brian Kohberger cases, a lot of people had never heard of investigative genetic genealogy. But if you've ever traced your ancestry or built a family tree using only a cheek swab and a website, you know exactly what IgG is all about. In the Idaho student murder case, the FBI used DNA from the knife sheath at the crime scene to identify Kohberger's family and then Kohberger. And as many know, the same process helped catch the Golden State Killer, who raped and murdered at least 13 people across California in the 70s and 80s. The father of JonBenét Ramsey, John Ramsey, thinks IgG is the last and best hope of solving JonBenét's murder almost 28 years ago. Here's what he said on this show just last night.
I met with the founders of Othram Labs, which is one of the cutting edge labs that's out there. They'd be happy to help. I sent a letter to the chief based on my meeting with what I learned with Othram, and that is, A, they don't destroy any DNA when they do testing on it anymore, which was one of the concerns. B, they have the ability to separate DNA, mixed DNA samples, which is one of the issues with the sample they got in 1997. They had an unidentified male DNA sample in early 1997. It was mixed apparently with JonBenét's blood DNA. That can now technology-wise be separated. That's huge. And the third thing, they have the ability to do familial genealogy research, which has been wildly successful in solving old cold cases. That's what we're asking the police to do.
And just to be clear, that has not happened yet, but IgG has now solved dozens, maybe hundreds of cases, including a cold case murder from 50 years ago. In 1974, 25-year-old Mary Shalisis was hitchhiking from Minneapolis to Chicago when she was picked up, stabbed to death, and dumped somewhere in Wisconsin. It's a horrible case, and for decades it seemed like the crime would never be solved until the IgG team from Ramapo College in New Jersey started working on it. They analyzed a hair follicle from the scene and compared it to family trees from genealogy databases all across the internet. Eventually, they traced it to a man named John Miller, who's now 84 years old and who, quote, confirmed his involvement when police turned up on his doorstep. I'm joined now by David Gurney and Cairenn Binder, Director and Assistant Director of the Investigative Genetic Genealogy Center at Ramapo College. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Wow, what a story. David Gurney and Cairenn Binder, you know, the last thing, you know, as we look at this case, let's just start with why you chose that case, how you got involved, and just where you started. David, we'll start with you.
So this was a case where we were actually contacted by the law enforcement agency who heard about us from other casework that we'd done. And we were just happy to step in and provide any assistance that we could.
You know, Cairenn, when you take a look at the cases, you must have had kind of a menu of items to look through, right? Of different cases, different years, decades. What did you think when you honed in on this one?
So with this case, we were referred this case very early on in the Investigative Genetic Genealogy Center's launch. This was our 10th case that we had accepted in all of our, you know, more than 70 cases now. And so it was an easy choice, 50-year cold case, the opportunity to solve this. What we were provided with access to for further laboratory testing was the leftover DNA sample from previous evidence that had been tested. So that was sent to one of our laboratory partners who generated a SNP profile, and then we got to work.
David, you know, we just played that clip from John Ramsey that we had last night. It was an incredible interview, and it's such a sad story that we all remember. And every time, every Christmas, we come back to this story and we say, okay, it's this year. It's been 28 years. Why hasn't this type of DNA technology been used, this investigative genetic genealogy? Is this something that you guys would take up if asked?
I mean, we are happy to look at any case that comes to us. IgG depends on a lot of things coming together in the right way. There has to be biological material from which the kind of genetic profile that we rely on can be generated. So all those questions are things that we would ask the law enforcement agency before we even got started on the case. So certainly happy to talk about it if anyone reaches out.
Cairenn, that would be interesting, right? If you got a phone call from Boulder Police that said that they wanted you to take a look at this, why isn't this type of technology being used on each and every cold case? Because we've heard this story before, not just John Ramsey, because police departments have to invite people in. That's our understanding.
That's part of it. And, as much as we would love to see investigative genetic genealogy implemented in more cases, it's unfortunately not a slam dunk for every single case. So there are elements, the quality of the DNA evidence available, how many persons are involved in a mixture, a 3 or more person mixture. Additionally, even the race and ethnicity of the subject that you're trying to identify can impact the solvability of the case. So while it's a great tool for so many cases, it's not going to work in every single cold case.
Yeah, David, so many people have signed up for Ancestry.com, 23andMe. In fact, they make good holiday gifts, many would say, and on other sites. A lot of DNA is on file. Will you always get a hit? There are some people who you won't find a match for, obviously. So which sites do you have access to, and which ones do you hope to have access to in the future?
So one of the primary misconceptions that we face about IgG is exactly this question: what databases do we have access to? At this point, we only have access to 2 relatively small databases. They are GEDmatch Pro and Family Tree DNA. So if you have taken a DNA test from Ancestry or 23andMe, which are by far the largest databases out there, Ancestry alone has about 25 to 30 million profiles. We are not able to see you as a match to any of our cases unless you make the extra choice to download your data from Ancestry and upload it to GEDmatch Pro. So this is, of course, a stumbling block for us. It means that we have access to approximately 3 million profiles in many of the cases that we work. If we somehow got access to Ancestry, if they made the decision to give their consumers the choice to participate in IgG searching, I imagine that many, many cases that are right now unsolvable would become solved within a couple of days or weeks.
Wow, it's really incredible. Cairenn and David, we've got to leave it right there. We hope to have you back. David Gurney, Cairenn Binder, thank you very much for being here tonight. We'll check back in with you soon.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.